Welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. If what you're after is having it all, if what you desire is becoming the best version you can be across all areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best of the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, knowledge, experience, and skills so that you can go out and crush it financially and across all areas of your life. Grab pencil and paper, sit back, enjoy, and you are welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hello, Modern Kings and Queens. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview some of the best and most successful and experienced real estate investors out there to provide you with the tool sets, the mindset, and the skill sets that you need to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. Super excited today. I get to connect with Don Spafford. Spafford? Spafford. How do you say that, man?
Spafford. Yes, Spafford. It's fine.
Spafford.
Either way.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, he's a husband, father, real estate investor. He's a master networker and helps people grow their wealth through real estate. And he actually does he does multifamily and all of that we always talk about in this podcast, but he has experience in a very unique type of real estate that I'm excited to dive deep into. So, Don, thank you very much for being here, man. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alex. My pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be on your show and help reach your audience with something new and different that they probably have not heard before.
Yeah. Well, even if they've heard it before, man, it's sometimes better to listen to good advice twice or three times or four times than to listen to new advice, right? So either way, we'll probably change some lives today, man. And to do that, the first thing that I asked my guests to do is I asked them to walk us through their real estate investing journey in 75 seconds or less.
All right. That's hard to do, but sure, I can give it a try.
All right, go ahead.
Well, to cut out a lot to get that time frame, let's just jump right in. So I started investing in 2017. About a fourplex was my first property. I used some creative financing to make that happen. I took a loan for my 401k for most of that down payment, used a local lender that only required a 10% down payment. So that's how I got started. And so, within a few years, I bought a couple more fourplexes, then got into some development projects, some JV deals, got involved with a build-to-rent multifamily group, and then later ended up with I'm at now with Beyonder Holdings, which we buy RV campgrounds and resorts. And the whole purpose of all this was, as you mentioned, to build up that passive income, to build wealth, so I could one day leave my job and have more time to be with my family and give more time and service and volunteering and just enjoying life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the whole point of doing it, and I've been able to achieve that in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, and the vehicle to do that is real estate, right? So, man,
Yeah.
let's talk about that first acquisition you made in 2017, fourplex, right? Because the first one is like the one that people struggle with the most. Once they make the first one and they start getting cash flow and they start to feel how it feels to have some passive income coming in, or once they see the mortgage coming down without they having to do anything, right? That's when it becomes real. And it all starts with that one first property, with that first acquisition. So you bought your first fourplex in 2017, did some creative financing, used your 401k, I think you said. Can you walk us through how you did that, man? How you were able to accomplish that?
Yeah, well, so it goes back as I was, struggling, but many years ago, I guess, looking for other ways to create income without getting a second job or going to try to find a new job. I was like, what can I do? I was really desperate for help, and that's kind of how I discovered real estate investing. I'm not quite sure how exactly, but my wife, actually probably goes back to my wife. She's a realtor. She started being a realtor about maybe 11 years ago now. And some of her very first clients were investors buying property. So I kind of got more intrigued from that to learn how to do it. But for us, by that first fourplex, it came down to, I was like, we got to either go for it, take this risk and invest in real estate and potentially have the life we're looking for, or continue down the path we're at now, just struggling to get by, most likely heading towards bankruptcy or just more depression and stress from not having enough money to take care of our family that was growing and having a higher costs and things, or working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet and not enjoying life. Right. So none of that sounded good. So I was like, it's worth the risk to give us a try. I knew that real estate was a proven method that many people have used to build wealth and become wealthy and create income. So I was like, I got to at least give that a try. And I from my understanding, I was learning very early on from a lot of podcasts, just like this one. I was working from home, so I was just listening to about 6 or so podcasts every single day while I worked, just to learn from others as what they did and their experiences and things, just to help build my education much more quickly. So I got to the point where I understood enough that I was ready to do something with it. I didn't ever feel like I needed to know everything, because that was never going to happen. I wanted to at least know enough that I could, at least avoid mistakes to get started.
Exactly.
Right. So for me, I did understand that I did not want to get into single family, as many people start with a single family. For me, I just saw that as too much of a risk for very little cash flow. As soon as that property is vacant, I got to cover that mortgage. If I got to replace the carpet, that pretty much wipes out the full, the full income for like a year or more. So I knew that the greater number of doors, the less risk it was for me. So I was searching for a fourplex only because that's the most number of doors I could get as on a residential loan, which gives a much better terms than a commercial loan. So that's what I set out to do, and I kept analyzing and looking for properties every single day. I'd probably analyze, I'd say at least, I don't know, it felt like, I guess, about 100 properties a week sometimes, just to especially early on, as I was just learning how to analyze it, just to get that practice in there. No matter what, even if I knew it was a good or bad deal from the start, I just wanted to analyze it just to get used to that process and get comfortable with the numbers, right? So I was doing that a lot. And then I was searching everything. My wife is a realtor, so we'd search the MLS, but I was also searching for things listed on Zillow or Craigslist, for sale by owners things. And that's where I found this fourplex. It was listed as a for sale by owner on Craigslist, actually. And it's about 45 minutes from my house. The numbers worked at the time. It actually met the 1% rule at that time, which is typically a pretty good indicator if it's going to be a good deal or not to start with. And it was a newer build, so I don't have to worry about old plumbing or wiring things. So I was like, yeah, we gotta go for this. And just from listening to those podcasts and being active on forums, I learned about. First of all, that's how I maybe even realized that I could take a loan for my 401k, something I would have never thought about before. I could borrow, without penalty or tax or anything, just take a loan for my 401k. And also, I found a local lender that does portfolio loans at a 10% down payment. So I could combine those two to get into this property with very little money that potentially didn't even come out of my pocket per se, and then get that going. And I knew from my analysis at the very beginning, it was going to cash flow at least enough to get started. I knew that it wasn't like a home run deal right from the very beginning, but I knew that the rents were under market. I could probably get them up, and they would go up over time anyway. But the value was there to at least get it was a good enough deal to get it started and going. And so that's what I did. I bought that property, and I think at first it was cash flowing maybe like $500 a month, maybe at the current rents the previous owner had them at. I went in and started increasing those rents slightly. I didn't go and just bump up huge until they go vacant. My thought is, if they're good tenants, I want to keep them there, but I still expect some increase each year, just because property taxes and things go up. But anytime it'd be vacant, then we go in there and clean up a bit, but then kick it up to the highest market rent I could get for it, just to increase that rent. And so and now it's cash flowing about $1,200 a month, which isn't necessarily super great, but at the same time, I did a cash out refinance a little over a year ago and pulled out over $100,000 when I only put, I think, $26,000 down to buy it. So
Nice.
I more than pulled out what I put down, and of course at this point it's infinite returns, but even more so that money is able to go back and reinvest in other things to keep that building at a faster pace, right?
For sure.
So I mean, I could have pulled out a lot more, but I still wanted to maintain at least that level of cash flow on that property anyway, without pulling out the maximum, just to make sure that property can sustain itself, going forward, at least as long as I continue to own it. But yeah, so that's kind of that first property again. But it goes back to even literally the day before closing. As confident as I was in all this, it was still a scary step to take, right? Many things could go wrong, and again, I had no savings, so if this were to just totally backfire, I'd be in a very bad situation. Now, with the loan I took for my 401k, I still got to pay that back. But so even with all that fear, like literally the night before closing, I was ready to maybe just walk away and back out and use our earnest money. But But I trusted the analysis, I trusted the process, and I trusted in my abilities to make that work and have to make that work to go forward. Because I knew that no matter what, if I want to get to that level I was trying to get, I've got to take these risks. And this one, at least I felt, again, based on the numbers alone, I was like, hey, it's got to work. So let's just go for it and push past that fear. And like you said, once I had we closed that property, like that same day, I was ready to go buy more. I was like, okay, I'm past that fear. I understand now. Even if, I didn't have a dime of the cash flow coming back yet, I just understood that, this is the way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the way to get that level. Yeah.
Great story, man. Great story. I really enjoyed it. It's crazy how like you just have to, like you said, right? You just have to know enough so that you can execute, and then you were able to get to that point where you knew enough to execute by listening to a bunch of podcasts every single day, right? And more than like, because there's a couple of nuggets, right? Like for example, the nugget that you got from about being able to get a loan from your 401k, that was like a life-changing thing, right? Like it was one nugget. It was a couple of nuggets that allowed you to make that deal. But I think like the most important thing that actually made you follow through and get the deal and do the deal and all of that, man, was like listening to all of these people again and again and again, telling their stories of how they were able to get their first property and how they did it and how they had no money and all of that, right? So it makes you believe in yourself, and I think that is the life-changing thing, right? So I think people are listening to this, right? And then boom, they got that life-changing gold nugget that you got, right? You can actually borrow from your 401k. So if you have a job and you've been adding to your 401k for the past 15 years, then you have that, right? Um, and then just listening to you, how like you had no savings, you had your job, and you were just like working on analyzing properties every single day until you found one, and you made it happen, is like it's like a life changer, man. Right? Like I just put myself in the shoes of people who have never made a deal, who have never invested in anything in their life, but they know that that's what they want, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting to be living through this, right? And actually, Don, the people who listen to this podcast, man, are real estate investors, right? They're some of them are passive, some of them are active, and some of them don't know yet, right? They don't know, but every single person has taken a choice, right? They have taken a decision, and that is that every single person that listens to this podcast has chosen to use real estate as their wealth creation vehicle, whether that's actively, whether that's passively, whatever, right? But they've chosen to use real estate. So with that in mind, man, there are a lot of people who are, who are going into the active side. Maybe they're also working on analyzing deals. So when you were analyzing deals, when you're spending your weeks analyzing over 100 deals every single week, what did you look for, man, on these deals to know whether or not they were a good deal?
Hello, morning kings and queens. At my company, Millionaire Network Automation, we believe in the power of networking. We believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why we help real estate investors raise capital by connecting them with their ideal investors and helping them build a massive network of their ideal investors in less than 30 days and with only 4 hours of work per week. If you're interested in this, click the link below in the description of this podcast to learn how you can propel your growth with a reliable system that will consistently help you connect with your ideal investors, build trust, add value, get your investors to promote you and put you in front of more of their investor friends, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that you can achieve your financial freedom and still have the time and the energy to pour into every single other area of your life. So go watch the training, and you're going to have the opportunity to book a call to talk about how you can get this 100% done for you system implemented in the next 5 days. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later, and enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
Man, that's a great question. So for me, I was mostly, of course, looking locally first. So I had to, of course, understand the area. As I later expanded that search nationwide, I had to get to understand what's I guess the average rents in that area to know if it's under market rent or not. But I was looking for opportunities that could at least, again, cash flow well to start with. And then a lot of that goes back to that price, that price to rent ratio, that, so that you get that 1% rule, meaning 1% of your rents is equal, or basically 1% of the value of the property is what you're getting in rent, right? To get that 1% rule. So as like, if it's at least close to that, it could probably be a great deal, especially if the rents are under market. I could get those rents up, or find other ways to reduce costs. If it's something where we're like way under that, like, it's like pretty much not cash flowing at all, that for me was not a good deal. Again, my just for my risk tolerance and my objective, I needed cash flow, and I did not want to take on risk if that property could not cash flow. Then something goes wrong, and there's nowhere to pull money from to cover those costs. And it's like I don't want to be paying out of pocket to fix things. Granted, there's potentially value down the road for appreciation, but that was not my goal. My goal was cash flow. I figured if it's gonna cash flow, that appreciation will come over time anyway. But I did not want to hope for appreciation and take that level of risk. So I was not in a position to do that. So again, for me, I was just looking at, I look at what are the rents, what's the price. If I can easily see that those numbers are close to that 1%, then I'm right. It's probably worth investigating. If I can see it's way under that, then I'm not going to waste my time on it. But that was what I was really looking for. Is just if I could quickly see from the listing information, what are the rents and what's the price. If it's at least close to that 1%, I could probably work with that. At least maybe negotiate or compare to see if these rents under market value. That maybe right now it's at a 0.8%, but rents could go up and get over that 1%. Then sure, that could be a great deal right there. But what I was as I started searching later on for like nationwide, as I was knowing that I'm competing with other investors. Most people are looking at your primary market, right? With that big city, I say, Houston or whatever you're at. So I would say, well, if that's where everybody else is looking, let me look where people are not looking, right? Where's the path of progress? I look at what's the next city out. Go to that secondary or tertiary market where the growth is going to, or right now I could get it for a lower price, but most likely that price will go up as those markets continue to expand and grow. And people are moving out of the higher price city, looking for that place nearby where they can commute to work or whatever. So that's where I started looking next to try to find those deals. Because look in the city, in the major market, you're not going to find it. There's too much competition. You're going to get outbid and get to a price point where it just doesn't make sense as an investment.
Got it. And so so that first fourplex, did you do some value add to it? You found it in lower than optimum conditions, and you were able to add value to it, you said?
Yeah, so I was able to increase the rent. So I knew that it was under market rent at the time. I could get the rents up. So that's what I initially did at first.
Okay.
The property itself was somewhat newer, so it didn't really need a ton of updates. But and again, to start off with, I didn't have the money to go in and just totally update the property to everything. But I would just, as I could over time, people would move out, then I would do what I could. If nothing else, put in new appliances. Get the nice looking appliances. Then eventually, had more money available, and then we replaced the flooring and put in the new floors and and paint all those things. So it was kind of a slow process to get that point, making it nicer over time rather than just going and do it all at once. Because again, I didn't have the cash to do that. But yeah, it's definitely a much different property today than it was back then. Just because I've done those updates over time.
And then I'm just curious, Don, I imagine that you use some kind of tool or some kind of Excel sheet to be able to analyze those properties. Do you have that resource available to share with the audience or something? Or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what I used initially to begin with, is that the bigger pockets calculation tool. So if people are familiar, of course, with the Bigger Pockets podcast, that was for me a game changer, because I didn't have any other tool available. I didn't know anybody doing real estate, so having access to that simple calculator just to kind of plug in numbers and you kind of see a quick result, that was a major tool for me to start off with, and doing those 100 or so analysis per week. I use that to start off with, and I think it's still a good tool today for people that are looking for their first or smaller property up to a fourplex. I think they're great for that. Of course, now the things I do with syndications is a very different, more complicated tool. But someone looking just to get started or looking for those smaller units, that Bigger Pockets calculator is a good tool to use still, I think.
All right, great, man. And before I talk into like your commercial real estate investing journey, right, and then the projects that you've been working with beyond their holdings and investing in syndicating RB resorts, before I go into that, I just want to talk about depression and stress, right? Because like you mentioned in your story that you were living, you were like, making it by, you had a lot of stress, 2-3 jobs just to make it through, and all of that. And that's a very real thing, right? Like that's a very real thing, man. And it's been a common theme right now in my life, the like depression and stress, not because of like lack of finances, but because of my habits, right? So for example, man, like I'm a very healthy dude, right? And I eat really healthy, and I train, and I go to the gym, and I exercise, and I sleep well, and all of that. And I've been experiencing that when I eat something that I don't normally eat, right? So I normally eat really healthy, and when I eat something that I don't normally eat, that the rest of the world normally eats, right? That it's normal for them, I get depressed, man. So for example, I'm always feeling on fire. I'm always like with a lot of energy and like just ready to go and execute on whatever it is, whatever task I have at hand. And the other day I went to the movies with my wife and with my kid. And I ate like a thing, like a big thing of popcorn and a soda and nachos and all of that. And the next day I woke up depressed, man, and stressed out, right? And then and then and then it takes me like one day to get over it.
Yeah.
And then I experienced it again. So yesterday I went with my mother, and then I ate a bunch of her food that she made. And then after that I felt a little bit depressed, a little bit down and sad, man. Because of the food that I ate, right? And it's crazy because that it makes me think, and I'm like, damn, like imagine the entire world who like just eats processed food all day, and then they don't take care of their health that much. They don't like exercise and all of that, and they live feeling depressed. They live feeling down and with no energy, and they have to do something, and they're like, I don't feel like doing it. And they think that that's normal. They just think that they're tired or something, right? But it's because of their habits, man, right? And because of the habits that they think, that which makes them feel the way that they feel, and they think that feeling like that is normal, but it's not. And I just wanted to throw that out. And one of the ways that I manage my stress is by like taking ice baths. So for example, I've I get an argument with my wife, and when I don't take an ice bath, man, those arguments, or like whatever my wife yells at me or whatever, triggers me, right? But when I do take my ice baths consistently, I'm just like I'm able to sit there and just handle it, right? And take it in without reacting or responding, right? And I'm able to have the ability to choose how I want to respond instead of reacting. So I just wanted to throw out there for anyone out there who's um like struggling with depression and stress, check your habits, right? Start to eat better, start to sleep better, take ice baths. They help incredibly well. Exercise, and that's going to maintain you stable, and it's going to allow you to be in a state that in which you're able to respond a lot better. What do you think about that, Don?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Overall, don't have anything to add to that. Um, I guess for your perspective, what you shared there with what you eat, sometimes you eat things that makes you feel depressed. I don't know if that partially because, like you said, you take care of yourself, you exercise a lot, and sometimes when like just from my own personal experience, back when I'm definitely not in shape now, but about 15 years ago I was running 5 miles a day and exercising, and on top of that, an hour a day, so I was in the best shape of my life. And so I tried to very carefully, I eat healthy and keep my calorie count low, and we'd have like maybe a lunch party or something at work. They'd bring pizza or something, and so I'd have some of that pizza, and then like I maybe didn't really feel depressed or sick, but I felt guilty. Like I'm eating this stuff knowing I should not eat it. So that,
Yeah.
so I don't know if some of that depression may come just from that kind of guilt, knowing that you should not be eating something and that you are eating. But there is definitely things have to go with what the I guess the toxins and things we do put into our body. A lot of the chemicals that are in food today, that processed foods that are mostly full of chemicals more than anything else. So it definitely can affect your overall health and therefore your mental wellness too. So I agree with that. Yeah.
It's poison, man. Literally, like you're poisoning yourself, and then you feel sad. Well, what did you expect, right? You've been poisoning yourself all of this time. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because it's very important for people. Because if you don't have your health, man, then what do you have, right? If you spend all the time trying to get the money just so that you can spend that money getting your health back, then what was the point, right? Or if you spent a bunch of time trying to get the money so that you could spend time with your family, but now you're using that money to, right, get away from your family, to like pay for the divorce papers and all of that, what's the point, right? So I just wanted to remind that to everyone. So now, man, let me ask you about your commercial real estate journey, right? So you did your fourplex. Then what had to happen before? Well, since the beginning, you knew that you didn't want to invest in single family, right? Because too risky, too much work, right? For like basically very little rewards. So instead, you decided like right off the bat to go for a fourplex, which is a bigger investment. And then what had to happen before you took the decision to go into another bigger commercial real estate investment deal?
Well, first of all, I guess the one of the main reasons I didn't go bigger to begin with is, one, I did not have resources to do that. I didn't have money to go after something bigger, but also I did not know anybody in that space. I did not know anybody that was doing syndications or in bigger commercial real estate. I did not have that network, right? So from the very beginning, I started building up my network, reaching out to other people that are investing, people that are doing things, and slowly over time built up that network of people that later could introduce me to those things, things that they were doing that I could then invest with them or learn from them. And that's how I eventually got pulled into commercial real estate, but also partly because as I was, my plan when I bought that first fourplex, I'm like, well, I'm going to keep buying more fourplexes because this is relatively easy. I can find them and I can finance them. So, and they provide decent cash flow. So I'm going to keep buying fourplexes to get to that passive income level I wanted to get to. Knowing that, it wouldn't take too many properties to get to at least the minimum level I needed to be able to replace my income. The problem was after I bought the third one is that the competition was getting higher, right? There was more people now getting involved in investing between 2018 and 2019. Everything that I would make an offer on, I would get outbid by a crazy amount to a point where like, why are they paying that much? That's nothing going to cash flow. But people have different reasons why they buy, right? So I was like, as I kept getting outbid and just not finding deals that were working anymore, I was like, I've got to find a different way. And so as I was continuing to build that network, again, I met people that were doing syndications for multifamily value add, and so I started learning from them and wanted to go into that path. I eventually actually first met a group that was doing this build to rent multifamilies. They were building these large projects right here in my hometown, my backyard. So I met them and actually joined up with them first to get involved with that and kind of going in that path before anything else. And I'm still with them today too. But as I was then I joined a couple mastermind groups and trying to learn from more coaching and just being active again. Still listening to podcasts. Podcast listening was a daily routine for me, and I was reading more books, going to events, and learning from people. So I was heading down that path I saw that these real estate syndications was the better way to go. There was relatively less work, I guess, overall. I wouldn't have to directly deal with the tenants and evictions, all those kind of things, and even more so if I were just to be a passive investor, I could be totally hands off and not to worry about any of that stuff and just invest my money. So that's kind of how I got into that path. What led me to the campgrounds, though, the RV campgrounds I'm doing now, is that as I was searching for those cash flowing deals, because again, that was my objective still, even with commercial real estate, it's got a cash flow. And so as I was looking at multifamily properties during 2021, in particular, at this point where I was actively searching, the returns were not great to me. There were returns there, but they were not a very high cash flow. And so for me, I was like, that's just not good enough. I tried to stick to my core criteria. My reason for investing was cash flow. And so most of the deals I was seeing were, averaging maybe between a 4 to 6% cash on cash. They had maybe a higher pref, but you get that pref back when they sell, in 5 years or whatever. And I didn't want to wait for that. I wanted cash flow now. And so for me, 4 to 6% just was not going to cut it. I was like, I'm just not worth the risk to me. And so I was just patiently searching and researching and trying to find something. I was like, there's got to be something else out there. Just in that daily routine of listening to podcasts is how I first heard about RV campgrounds from somebody else on a podcast. And that got me very interested. I live close to Yellowstone Park, so it's a big camping area to begin with. And so I was like, there could be something to this. So that's what led me to start researching more and connecting with people that are specifically in that niche, finding people that are doing campgrounds, people that want to buy campgrounds. I figured if nothing else, there might be somebody that wants to buy here near Yellowstone. I could be their boots on the ground, kind of get my foot in the door that way. And just making those comments on social media is how I eventually found my partners that they had just bought their first property, were looking to grow their team and expand. And that's where we met up and everything seemed to align. That's how I joined with Beyond Holdings. And for me, what sold me on it, of course, like I said, was the cash flows. We were looking at double-digit cash on cash, something I was not seeing in any other asset class. Targeting about a 12 to 15% average cash on cash. I was like, yeah, that's the numbers I'm looking for. That can get me to my goal much faster with less money than investing in a bunch of other 4 to 6% return deals. So anyway, that's really what led me down that path and got me involved. And now I'm happy to be in a position now where I can share that with other people. Because I know I'm not the only one. I've talked to many people that are the exact same thoughts as I did, their same goals, there's cash flow, but when all they see are these other deals, they don't know what else is out there. They just figure that's all there is. So they'll invest where they can put their money in a safe place to do something for them more than just the bank. And now I'm out there talking to them and showing them, hey, there's something else, something that can give you higher returns, higher cash flows, higher IRRs, higher depreciation, and something you can actually use. You can actually go to our campgrounds and have fun, create memories, look at their friends and family, and talk about investing in these types of properties, not just say, hey, I'm investing in a property and that's it. You have no personal tie to it. But whereas where you can now go and create that experience with your friends and family.
Yeah, and that's a big part of your message, right? Fun and memories and outdoor experiences with your family and in exceptional investments, right? That's part of your message.
Right.
It's a big part of your message. And I really like what you're saying, because it sounds like you found your niche, right? It's a very niche type of investment, right? RV camp parks. And that's a very simple but huge mistake that real estate investors make, that they want to take on everything, right? They want to invest on all the different kinds of asset classes that there are out there. But that's the wrong way to do it. Just like you mentioned, you wanted to focus on your core criteria, which was cash flow, right? That's being very clear about what is the ideal type of property that you're looking to invest based on your goals is very important, and that's what you were able to do. So you became part of this group. What are they called? They're called Beyond Their Holdings. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And started investing in RV camp parks, and then so you became part of that team. And what was the part that you contributed to the team? Was that the capital raising? Since you are like a networker, was the capital raising what you contributed to the team?
Yeah, that was the initial goal, I guess, when I joined the team. Based off my financial background. So we of course didn't cover this. My educational background is in actual finance. Investment science, portfolio management. I was in stock investing and working in that industry for almost 20 years. So I had a very strong financial background that I could bring to the team to help with the underwriting analysis but above that, my primary role when I first came on was investor relations. I wanted to go out there and talk to people and bring investors to our deals. My role has changed since that point, or I still do that, but I do a lot of other internal things as well for the operations. But the funny thing is, when I started out, I had very little experience capital raising. Honestly, I did not know how much I could do. The funny thing is too is that for me, talking to people was always a hard thing for me to do. I was not an extrovert, so just talking to strangers was not something that came naturally to me. But what I discovered is that as I was doing the financial analysis side of things and then talking to people about this, I discovered that I really enjoyed talking to people. As strange as it is, something I never would have assumed before. But when we're not just here talking politics or talking about the weather or whatever, I'm talking about their financial future and how I can help them achieve their goals. It gets me excited. It makes me happy to share that with people. Running analysis of numbers, that's great, but that's kind of boring, honestly. There's no excitement there, and honestly, it's also a lot of pressure. If I make a mistake, maybe something looks great, but I missed a number or somewhere, then all that falls on me. Now it's my fault, right? So I don't want to have that responsibility of making a bad deal look good, right? So anyway, but the funny thing is, like I said, I just would have never imagined that I would enjoy talking to people, and I realized that this is what I want to do. Even if I could do other things, but I enjoy that aspect a lot, and I enjoy sharing people and talking about their journey and their goals and what they're looking to do and how investing with us can help them achieve those goals.
Hello, modern kings and queens. I'm sorry for the interruption. I know you're enjoying the episode, but I have something super important that you must listen to. If you've been following this podcast for a while now, it's because of one of two reasons. Number one, you aspire to have it all, to unlock your potential across all areas of your life and achieve true freedom physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and of course, financially. And or number two, you're a real estate investor
or an aspiring real estate investor who has chosen to use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle to achieve financial freedom. My mission as part of the Modern Kings and Queens movement is to help as many people as I can achieve financial freedom using the vehicle of real estate. And I believe that networking can be an incredibly powerful tool to help you unlock your potential across all areas, but more importantly, financially. More specifically, in real estate. I believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why I created the 4-step capital raising networking system to help real estate investors propel their growth by using a reliable system that will consistently help them connect with their ideal investors, build trust, add value, get their investors to promote them and put them in front of more investors, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that they can become successful, not only financially, but across all areas of their life. If this is something that you want, and this is something that you're interested in, click the link below to gain access to a training that will explain the 4 steps to building a high leverage network that you can use to raise millions of dollars in capital, propel your growth in real estate, and achieve financial freedom in a much more effortless way so that you can have more time and energy to pour into every single other area of your life so that you can become successful, not only financially, but across all areas of your life. In this training, you will learn 4 things. Number 1, aligned connections. I'll show you how to network effectively and how to make sure that your networking efforts work by leveraging a secret, little known concept called the cloak track. Number 2, networking tool. I'm gonna reveal to you a secret networking tool that the top 5% of successful real estate investors use to become successful. And I'm gonna show you how you can use it too to become successful and get out of that 95% of real estate investors that don't really make it. 3, high status communication. In order for someone to invest in you, they have to feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. A lot of people can communicate, but very few can connect. High status communication will allow you to build trust and add value in a way that will make people feel like they know you, like you, and trust you for years in a time span of 30 minutes. And lastly, the 4th thing is the attention multiplication machine. The world doesn't run on oil anymore. It runs on attention. And this last thing, the attention multiplication machine, will show you how to get wealthy investors to promote you and put you in front of more wealthy investors so that you can raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way. So if this is something that interests you, click the link below to go watch the training. Make sure you stay all the way to the end. If you find value and you want to book a call to talk about how you can get this completely offhand system, completely done for you system, implemented for you in the next 5 days. So click the link below. I'll see you on the other side. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of your episode. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, man. So investor relations, talking to people, and raising capital is like your superpower, and the value that you brought to the table. But more than that, man, you're more than that. Your superpower is like strategic partnerships, right? It's integrator. It's being the integrator and putting the team together, because you have been able to raise capital not by like raising capital yourself, but by putting in the people, the right people together, and integrate the right team, and finding PEs and finding family offices and finding other capital raisers. So you have been able to raise a bunch of capital not by doing it yourself, but by integrating and finding other strategic partners who could help you do it. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, man? Because one of the things that real estate investors, beginner real estate investors do and think and believe is that they have to do everything themselves, right?
Yeah.
And clearly with what you're about to say is not the case. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, from the very start, the way I viewed it as, even of course, I'm now a full general partner with the team. But when I first started, my role was investor relations, right? So I was essentially an employee, we'll say. But so for me, I was like, well, my goal as an employee, or anything working with the team, right? I'm trying to help build the company. I want to build the brand. I'm not just here to do a one deal and I'm out. Unfortunately, many other syndicators I see maybe are kind of like that. They're focused on the one deal, get that one deal done, and then they'll go to find another deal, and they might do 1 or 2 per year. I viewed it as our team. This is our core thing. We're looking to do multiple deals per year, maybe 10 per year or something. So I was like, I need to help what I can to build the team, build the brand, build the company up, so we can do more deals and get more things out there. So So I was like, I know that my abilities were limited. I was not going to be able to go and raise millions upon millions of dollars just right away. But I knew people that could, or at least could help us do that. And so again, like you're saying, that you could view it as one thing is like, well, I'm here to do my job is to raise capital. So I'm going to raise capital, and then and that's it. I'll do the best I can. But I was like, well, if I can help raise capital to get these deals done and to help do more deals, but I can do that through other people, then why not? I'm not here just to make money for me. I'm on to help make money for other people and help get more deals done so we can do bigger deals and eventually at some point get to a point where we're a big enough team where we can now hire full-on staff and employees and create jobs and all that. So I had this bigger vision of where it could go. If I was limited in what my resources are, then we would still be limited on how many deals we can get done. But I was like, I can find people that, and again, I wasn't necessarily pursuing this right away, but as I was talking to people looking for other investors and discussing what they've done, I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe you might be a good fit if you want to come work with us and help us to raise capital, and things like that. And so that's kind of why I first started doing that. I found, I brought a guy to our team almost right from the very beginning that was, had great experience raising, tens of millions before. So he came and joined our team. He saw the vision, saw what we were heading to. And he saw there was an opportunity to raise on multiple deals per year versus just one or so per year, right? So, so he very early joined our team, and then later, another person that was from one of the masterminds I was in saw the opportunity. They came and joined us to help raise more capital. Our main acquisitions guy kind of came through my relations, not necessarily directly for me, but again, one of those networking calls. I was talking to another guy about things, and then he referred somebody else that could probably be a good fit for our team that became our main acquisitions guy. So and then more recently in this last year, especially in the last 6 to 8 months, as this kind of change in the economy was happening, in this early 2023, people were fearful. Our standard retail investors that maybe invest $100,000 in some things like this were getting scared. They were worried about a recession. They were worried about bank failures. They were worried about rate hikes, all these interest rates that were happening, especially things they were seeing in the multifamily space, where there's looming potential foreclosures, these capital calls, and other things that are going on.
People not paying the rent.
Right, so all that people were therefore fearful. So I'm like, well, rather than being like, well, we can't raise money because people are afraid to invest, I was like, nope, let me go off to find these groups that are not afraid to invest. I knew there was family offices, private equity groups, people that have tens of millions of dollars that they have to invest somewhere. I'm like, let me go try to target those guys. Reaching out to them. I in many cases I had zero relation or zero contact with them. Most weeks I want to prefer a warm referral, but I'm like, you know what? If I don't have it, I'm just going to go for it. Let me reach out to them directly and see if there is something they'd be interested in. And luckily, I've been able to find some of those groups that do like what we're doing and do see the great return value compared to other things. And so that's been a kind of a game changer for us as well. As now we have access to that larger institutional level capital that maybe we would not have otherwise if I would not have decided just to go for it and try for it, right? If we just settled for the standard retail investor. So yeah, that's been kind of my superpower, is just kind of not being afraid to go for bigger things, right? That's kind of been my objective all along, I guess, is, I'm very risk averse, but at the same time, when I'm backed against the wall, it's like, I don't want to just accept my fate and say, well, this is what I was dealt. I can't do anything about it. I'm in control of my future. So I'm gonna do everything I can to ensure that we reach those goals and make those things happen. So I don't just give up.
For sure. Very important lesson, right? Instead of just like giving up, right? So there's always people out there who are willing to invest. So just because a group of people who you were targeting isn't willing to invest, that doesn't mean that another group of people doesn't exist who is willing to invest, right? So it's having this limitless mindset and having this abundance mindset that even though when in times where it seems like everyone is in scarcity, that there's other people that are in abundance, right? So not letting yourself being stopped by those kinds of obstacles, right? Because everything I mean, it sounds like how to manage your mindset, man, and you know how to manage your emotions, right? And how to like be able to shift your mindset from being in fear or in scarcity and shifting that into abundance and like power and just executing. So Are there any tips or pieces of advice that you could give on how to do that? Like, because it's hard, right? It's hard to, like, imagine, like watching the news and the news and everyone is saying that multifamily doesn't work, tenants don't pay rents, everything is going under foreclosure, banks are closing, investments don't work. All of these things. Well, you get like it's inevitable to get scared, right? And I know that you got scared, but you had to do something to shift that and be able to get courageous and keep on going either way. So
Mhm.
what what are some of those keys, man?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wish I could have a perfect answer for you, but it's, and like you said, a lot of times mindset is not a thing you can just teach. It's just kind of something that you just have to click and just one day get it. But
Yeah.
for me, it was like, um, going back to that first property. I'm like, what's the next 5 years going to look like? If nothing changes, I'm probably heading towards bankruptcy or much more depression, stress, or something, right? Or never see my family if I can get 2 or 3 jobs. So it's like, what are my options? Like, I either can accept that and do nothing, or I can do something to try to change it. And so that's kind of been for me, is that just that, in many people, it's like the carrot or the stick, right? You get either the carrot is like the thing that draws you there because of like, we'll say the greed factor is like, oh, I can become wealthy with this. The other side is the stick. You want to avoid the pain. I don't want to go into bankruptcy. I don't want to, cause pain to my family and, um, do those kind of things. So to me, it's much more that the pain is more greater than than the stick or the carrot, I should say. Right. So if I can do something now to avoid a fate I don't want to endure, then I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm gonna, push past my comfort zone, my fears, and, it's I'm sorry, I do get very emotional about these kind of things, but it's you kind of put yourself, if you were, especially if you're like in your case, if you're a father, right, and you've got your family you're protecting. If somebody were to confront you with violence towards your family, as much as you don't necessarily want to die, you're willing to step in front of a bullet.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, that's kind of how I view it. I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if it costs me physical or pain or whatever, emotional distress. But if it's going to put my family in a better position down the road, then I'm willing to do it. Um, you can't
And
just
that's it.
you can't just stand out there by. You just got to
Yeah.
go for it and put yourself out there. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, so when it comes to being a husband and father, man, I think it doesn't really come down to like a trick or mindset shift or belief. You're a husband and father, right? You got to provide and you got to do whatever it takes to when it comes down to taking care of your family. If it comes down to jumping in front of a bullet so that they are okay, well, you'll do it, right? And there's no trick or shift or whatever that will get you to it. You'll just do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
man. Thanks for sharing. Um, let's see. I lost my train of thought, man. Well, let's jump into the real estate investing obstacle deep dive. It's a small section of every single podcast where I ask the guest about common obstacles that real estate investors face on a daily basis. And the purpose for that is just to get with the answers, the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets, and share them with the listeners so that they are able to navigate those obstacles a lot better, right? So this and in the next 5 minutes, I want to focus on the topic of capital raising, right? Since that's like your bread and butter, man. So when it comes to capital raising, Don, what do you think is like the biggest obstacle most real estate investors and capital raisers face?
I think definitely is the network. Honestly,
Mm.
a lot of people think you think it's easy. People that say, "Oh, I know a lot of people with money." So yeah, I can reason their issue from them. Well, it's not that easy. It's not just because you know people with money doesn't mean they're going to want to invest with you. You got to. It's a process you got to kind of build up. So it's great to start building that network ahead of time, like building up that database of people. Say, hey, if I know that you have great income and whatnot. First of all, you find people that are willing to invest to begin with anyway. Not everybody's because they have a high income means they want to invest in anything. A lot of them are just fine with their IRA or 401k and nothing else. But so it's building up that network of people that first of all are willing to invest in real estate, and then find what they are looking for. Say what kind of returns are you happy with? If I found you a deal that would meet that kind of criteria, would you be willing to invest in that. And so you kind of build that list of people ahead of time before you have a deal. You don't want to go find a great deal and then go scramble to try to raise capital and find out you can't get the money and you can't close that deal, right? You want to have that kind of built up ahead of time, at least a good portion of it, to feel confident to even go after those deals. So it's definitely a thing that it sounds easy, but it's honestly not, because not only are you not only trying to find that money out there that's available and get them to trust enough to invest in you. Because first of all, say if you've been a janitor your entire life, and also now you're bringing this multifamily dealer or whatever it is, they're like, "Why aren't you a janitor? Why would I trust my money to you to invest this with me?" Right? So they need to understand you as a real estate investor, not just as your job or whatever you are. Right? So build that trust of that you know what you're doing and they can trust you. But then also as that you understand that you're also competing with others. You're not the only real estate investor. You're not the only syndicator. They're comparing possibly 20 other different deals they're looking to invest in. So why is yours better than the others? So that's something you got to keep in mind too. Just because people have money and they will invest doesn't mean they'll invest with you, not because of you, but also could be because of that opportunity. They like something else better. Not everybody has unlimited funds just to invest in everything. So you're competing with everybody else. You got to kind of figure out why is your deal the best opportunity for them versus the other ones.
Yeah, exactly, man. And the network thing, right? Like not having the right network or a big enough network is like usually the bottleneck that keeps real estate investors and capital raisers from raising the adequate amount of capital for them to be able to invest in big deals, right? And like that is why that wasn't why. Like I just did it, and then it turned out to work, right? Like I didn't know that I was headed down that path, man. But I spent like 2 years building my network of successful entrepreneurs, 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs, all the real estate investors. I just spent like 2 years building my network. And then when I did have the opportunity to go into real estate, I had that network to go and reach out to and gather the funds to be able to execute the deal, right? And right now, actually, a real estate development, a hotel development project is being executed with capital that was being raised by with the network that I built over over a time span of 2 years. So I definitely agree with that, right? You got to be building the network always, right? Like beforehand, before you're going to ask people for money. But even when you do build a network and you have a strong network, sometimes that's not enough, right? So let's say that, for some people out there that they are building the network, they already have a network. What else do they need, man, to be able to raise capital successfully? And what is another thing that would hold them back, even if they already have a network? Because like you said, it's not enough. Like knowing wealthy is not enough to know wealthy people, right? Like you got to bring something else to the table. What is that, Don, in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, the common thing that people say out there is there's the know, like, and trust, right? So they have to know you. I mean, as much as they're in your network, they know you exist, yeah, but do they actually know you, right? So just because we just met today talking on a virtual meetup does not mean I know you enough to now say, okay, I'm gonna give you a bunch of money.
No.
So it's kind of like you said, it's a long process. I myself did that as I was getting into commercial real estate and knowing that at some point I was going to be looking to raise capital from people. I spent, like you said, a full year actively on LinkedIn, in particular, on social media, posting daily, putting comments out there, commenting on people's posts, going to networking events, going to virtual meetups every day of the week, just about, just to help people get to know me and not just see me and say, I know, I've heard of that guy, but actually know me, talk to me individually. They see what I talk about. They see my personality. Go on these podcasts, people can hear me, right? So they can know that they know who they're investing with, not just what they're investing in. Because for most investors, it's not even about the deal. Unfortunately, it's actually about the person. They invest with the people and the team above the deal, because they want to know that even if as great as the deal could be, but if the right people aren't operating it, it could go south and become a bad deal pretty easily. So they want to know that even if it's not the best deal, they feel safe investing with you because they're going to know that they're taking care of, that you know what you're doing. They're not going to lose their money. So that's definitely one thing to keep in mind, is no matter how great of a deal you have, if you and your team are not capable of doing it, people still may not invest because they don't trust you enough to know what you're doing.
For sure. So a great deal with a bad operator and a bad team behind it could go south. And a bad deal, or something that would be considered a bad deal, with a great operator and a great team behind it, could be really successful. So totally agree. And Don, we're towards the end of the interview, man. I've appreciated having this conversation with you. I've really enjoyed it. Is there any last message, piece of advice, or whatever that you may want to tell the audience?
Well, I think something I myself have been working on lately is your comfort zone, right? So as I talked about very early on, I had to really push myself past my own limiting beliefs, my own fears, my own comfort levels of talking to people and going to events and whatnot. And as that has now over time become somewhat easier, I've been on almost 100 different podcasts now, and so podcasting has become easier. Speaking at events has become easier. Those are maybe I still have some level of fear for that, right? But it's not something that is going to stop me anymore. But now that is my new comfort zone. So I now realize I've got to keep pushing myself further. So don't ever let yourself just get settled what you're doing. Always push past your new fears. Find what's holding you back and push past that and keep improving yourself. Every day, every year, just to become better overall, better as a person, as a husband, father, as your mother, whoever's listening, better as a deal sponsor, operator, better investor, whatever it may be. Just keep learning and keep pushing past your fears and getting better and better as much as you can. Don't just settle for where you're at and be comfortable there. Get comfortable being uncomfortable and always learn.
As cheesy as it might sound, that is the key, right? That is the key to life. Growing, right? And not stopping, not stop improving. So Don, if anyone wants to connect with you, maybe they want to learn about how they can build wealth through investing in real estate and through investing in RV camp parks, or they just want to connect with you, that you thought you were a good guy, and they just want to learn more, man. Is there what's the best way for them to connect with you, Don?
Sure. Probably the best, easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm very active on LinkedIn, even now. I post pretty much daily, Monday through Friday at least, and I comment on posts. And of course, you can just send me a direct message there. I'd be happy to respond and provide you a Calendly link to set up a call. You can also email me at don@beyondercamp.com. You can reach me there by email. But those are probably the two easiest way to find me.
Got it. So we'll put your website, we'll put your LinkedIn, we'll put all of that, man, wherever this podcast appears. We're really good at that. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, man, and learning from you. Thank you very much, Don. Okay?
My pleasure. Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate you, and we're super grateful about being part of your journey of becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur and having it all. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will be impacted positively. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be across all areas. And if you thought this episode was really valuable, share it on your social media as a post or a story. We have a special gift for all of those who contribute to the Modern Kings and Queens movement. So for those of you who decided to share this episode and help us spread our message, send me a message letting me know on any social media platform at Alex Ramirez, the Modern King. I have a special surprise for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.